go over the top position and different ways to control people, and then the things that I do to try to help control somebody. And you can control somebody by just being really heavy, or your movement can keep people down as well, or you can start controlling limbs and blocking the things that they need to do prior to starting to get the escape, right? And so I'll go over a few things that I try to do, and we'll keep building from that. Okay, so side control. So let's do it this way real quick. Okay, so obviously when I have somebody on side control, the position that I want to get to, right? I want him flat on his back. I want his hips flat. I need to stay tight to him, so my knee is at the very least on his hip or his upper like love handle area, okay? I want this arm dead. I want to control his head with my cross face, so I'm not just like holding him here, I'm like actively throwing my shoulder into him. I can grab the shoulder, but I like to do is I like to grab under the armpit, and in this way, when I have somebody controlled here, he's still in a line, right? So he can still build a base and be strong, but as soon as I hug him into me, now I'm breaking that spine, right? So it's not straight, so it's a lot harder for him to do. And now from here, when I start putting some shoulder pressure into that face, my shoulder's going into that carotid, and if I stay there long enough, I technically can probably start choking him out, okay? So as soon as I get this position, now my elbow on the outside on the hip, I'm tight, and I can start working into whatever I want to do, right? I can start moving up, start thinking about knee on belly, or I can move to different positions. But this is the ultimate position that I want. The problem is, it's very hard to get to that position, right? Because people are moving and things like that. So one of the first things that I want you guys to kind of focus on, right? So the guy on the bottom, what I want you guys to do, remember, is I want you guys to get to your side, right? And control shoulder, hip, so you can get that knee in, okay? And this is gonna be really hard for the guy to pass, and that's where the guy on top needs to start moving around, okay? So as soon as I get here, if I'm just like putting pressure, so like kind of put some pressure, Vince, like if I'm just trying to put my pressure onto him, he's got his frames and that's not gonna work, right? And I'm not strong enough to just like, and break him apart. That's not gonna happen. So as soon as I start feeling where he's putting pressure, that's where my body needs to start working, okay? So if he's controlling here on my shoulder and I'm putting pressure down to hold me up, he can hold me there for days, right? So I have to break his frames. And the only way to kind of break frames is to change the angle on people, right? So if I'm here starting to pass, right, I can turn my shoulders here to start breaking that frame. Or I can turn my shoulders and my hips towards him, okay? I never really want to turn towards the legs unless I'm going actively after like a twister side control, because the guy knows what he's doing and I start slipping, now he's got my back, right? Now I'm in a really bad position when I'm doing something. So when I'm doing it, it's gonna be more of like a pop of the hips as opposed to me just turning. So if he gets this position here and I'm trying to pass, boom, right? His shoulder and his frames that he has, they're breaking because it's almost like I'm gonna wrist lock him. See how he has to turn his body so they don't get wrist locked? I'm doing that quickly, right? And you're not gonna break anybody's wrist by doing it, but they're gonna freak out and let go, and that's when you're gonna be able to start passing, okay? So if I'm starting to pass and I start feeling his frames, I have to change the angle, right? And that's why a lot of times, this guy especially, as soon as you're getting to this position, he's getting right into that wrestler sit out or head and arm, and it's impossible to get out for a while, right? Because he learned a long time ago that as soon as he switches his hips to break that angle, that's when he can start passing, okay? So the first thing we'll go over, we'll get into like a pretty good frame. All I'm gonna do is switch, right? He's putting pressure there. All right, so he's almost pushed my arm. Let it go there. Boom, right? Just let it finish. And that way you can start smashing when you're doing that, okay? The other way, if I start putting pressure this way, right? Well, now I can start thinking about twister side control, and I start moving into my position where I can start getting back to my mount, taking his back, or getting those positions that I really need, okay? So another thing that we'll go over on keeping somebody down, right, is if he can't turn into me, people usually try to turn away and get to their knees, right? But if I'm controlling this elbow, right, he can't do anything about it, right? So turn away from me. I'm not even putting any pressure, right? And when I'm slowing him down to do that, now it's easy for me to start taking his back from there, okay? So I'm controlling his elbows. I can also do the same thing if I'm passing here, right? I'll grab his elbow and I'll pull it up, right? So he does have like an elbow frame as opposed to his hands. Now from here, I'm pulling this up and it's easy for me to finish that way, okay? So controlling these elbows are super important. And not only are they super important that he can't get away from me, so if he starts turning away, I'm controlling it here, but now it starts setting up arm bars and start setting up a lot of things that I can do from here, right? I can start even go into like a north-south position, okay? So that's pretty much me controlling his limbs to stop him from moving around, okay? Now the other things that I could do, if I start getting into a position where I can't pass, well, I'm just gonna cut an angle, the same thing, but now from here, it's gonna be easy for me to maybe drop a hand to the mat and then slide up to start going to my north-south, okay? And the same thing, he starts turning away from me, I got this arm. He starts turning into me, right? I can continue to move, staying tight, right? As we spoke about before, when I'm on top, there's a wrestler control, which sucks, right? So if I'm here, that's chest to chest. And even wrestling, when people get into like a turtle position or here, they'll move, going chest to chest, doing drills like that, so they can get quick feet and learn how to control the person. For jiu-jitsu, that'll work for a good beginner, okay? But once you start rolling a little bit, you need to get a better angle, right? And we gotta get that 45. So if I have a side control position, I have to make sure that I start over his rib cage and then I roll over. And now from here, he can't just move, he can't just try to move away because I'm flattening him out, but not just with 2 to 4 inches of my chest on 2 to 4 inches of his chest. My entire rib cage starts here and then I'm smashing him down with the rest of my body. So he has nowhere to go, okay? So right now we're just gonna get to a position. I want you guys to move around. I want you to think about those frames and how you're gonna change your angle, right? In most positions, if somebody's trying really hard to take you in a position, just go with it, okay? The harder you fight, obviously you're gonna get tired, right? But if I'm fighting some world-class black belt, I'm not gonna pass his guard when he already has good frames. I have to change the angle to even have a chance to do that, right? So we'll start that early on. Some of you guys are a little more advanced. You don't even have to think about it. Your body's just moving and it's gonna be really easy. Okay, so we'll work that top position, work that change in the angle on the for the frames, right? Also, I want you to get a good side control and stay tight so you know what it feels like. And then the person start turning into them in a way, and you controlling those elbows to not let them go one way or the other, okay? At the very least, it slows down the game, and once it slows down the game, you can do whatever you want as long as you have control. All right, so we'll partner up.